day in the life videos, I got a lot of questions on choosing the right path in the mental health profession. So as some of you guys may know, I am a social worker, and today I wanted to go into why I chose to become a social worker. Now, before we get started, there are different types of mental health tracks that you can take. So you can be a social worker, you can be a licensed mental health counselor, a licensed family and marriage counselor. I always get tongue-tied when I say that. A licensed family and marriage counselor, a psychiatrist, or a psychologist. Now, in this video, I'm only really talking about licensed mental health counselor, or some people call it a licensed professional counselor, same thing, depending on what state you're in, and a social worker. So please do not take this as an all be all. Please do your homework, please do your research, and I hope that this video gives you guys some insight into which direction you may want to go into. Welcome to It's Shay's Life, where I share tips and advice on self-love, putting God first in everything, how I'm healing and processing from past abusive relationships, and a little bit of everything else in between. I'm Shay. Let's get started. So to give a little bit of background on me, so I graduated from UNCG in 2010 with my bachelor's in media studies, or journalism, news, and broadcast. So I really wanted to be the next Katie Couric, or the black Katie Couric. And so that's what I went to school for. Social work was not on my radar. Actually, growing up in New York, I did not know what I wanted to do. I just knew college was the next thing that you do once you graduate from high school. But if you would have asked me when I was living in New York, I would have not been able to tell you what I wanted to do, what school I wanted to go to, or anything like that. Like, all my friends in school, or everybody around me, were having babies and figuring out who their next boyfriend was going to be. So that's what I was around. That's what I was accustomed to in New York. So moving down to North Carolina in my junior year, everybody was asking me, okay, you're about to go into your senior year. What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? And I'm like, I don't know. So it made me really think about what is it that I really want to pursue. So I did one of those online tests where you figure out what your passion is, or what your likes and stuff, and what field you should go into. And so because I loved watching Katie Couric, like I grew up watching Katie Couric with my mom, which is probably part of the reason why I wanted to be the next Katie Couric. Journalism fell in that category, and I was like, that's what I want to be. I'm gonna be the next Katie Couric, lights on me. So I ended up going to UNCG, graduating, and trying to get into my field for 2 years. I had some interviews, I did some meet and greets, I tried to, talk to people and get connected to people just so they can know, hey, this is Shahan. When she puts in her resume, I need to look out for her. Like, this is my reel and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, nothing happened for 2 years. So I said, you know what? Let me get my master's in journalism, which was probably the next best thing, get more training, all that kind of stuff. That's probably what I need. So I decided to move to Maryland to go to UMD to get my master's in journalism. So while I was doing the essay and the application, all that kind of stuff, I sent my interest essay to one of my professors at UNCG and asked him to review it. So after he reviewed it, he critiqued it, and one of the big things that still stands out to me to this day is he asked, why did you fall in love with journalism? Basically, he said, you're applying to all these prestigious schools, but you need to show them why you love journalism. And so I pondered on that, and I sat and I said, why do I love journalism? And I couldn't figure out why I love journalism. And so I was like, you know what? Journalism ain't for me. So at that point, I started volunteering and doing research. So I actually started volunteering at a safe house in Maryland with domestic violence survivors and their children. and I fell in love. And I started doing all this research. How do I work with domestic violence survivors? What do I need to do? What's the training? Yada, yada, yada. In my mind, I wasn't gonna go back to school, but I wanted to work with survivors. And I thoroughly enjoyed what I did. It was more like case management stuff, but still. So I found out that, you know, I can either get my human services degree, which is a 2-year degree. And I said, well, I already have my bachelor's. It really doesn't make sense to go back and get my associates. And I did more research, and then I just stumbled across social work. I didn't do any research in trying to figure out what's better, social work or licensed family marriage therapist, licensed mental health counselor. I really didn't even know all that existed. I was just like, I'm going to be a social worker. And then I ended up moving to New York and went to NYU, and the rest is history. So I graduated in 2017, and I've been doing in this field since 2017, so it's about to be my 3rd year. So I'm still fresh, I'm still new in the field, and I still love it to this day. So one thing I love about the field of social work is the vast options. As I started going to school, I realized that I could really go into so many different outlets as a social worker. Now, I feel like some of this might be biased because like I said, I didn't know anything about that, but I did do a little bit of research on social work versus licensed mental health counselor, or LMCH, or LPC, which is a licensed professional counselor. So let's start off by defining what a social worker is. A social worker is a person or a group of people that work with families and individuals to help them solve problems and help them cope with the problems that they're dealing with. They work with families and individuals. They also work with communities and prisons, the homeless population, shelters, hospitals, and the list goes on. So some career choices in the field include a healthcare social worker, mental health social worker, child and family, marriage and family counselor, human resources, school counselor or school social worker, social and community managers, healthcare, nursing homes, and the list goes on. So a marriage and family counselor, from my understanding, is different from a licensed marriage and family therapist. So I could work with families and married couples and use the treatment modalities that I know to help them through their problems, but family and marriage therapists go to school and that's their license. Like my license says social worker, and I can work with these people. Their license says marriage and family therapist, and that's what they do. So let's talk about what is a licensed mental health counselor, or LMCH. Licensed mental health counselor, LMHC, or an LPC, a licensed personal counselor. So an LPC or LMHC provides mental health or substance abuse counseling to persons who are struggling with mental, behavioral, or emotional problems and disorders. So they work with individuals, families, and groups of people. So some career choices as a LPC is community-based therapist, which is working with children, adults, rehab, crisis intervention. A certified school counselor, so they only provide counseling, individual counseling or group counseling, which is different than a school social worker. So a school counselor or a school social worker works with the broader school. They don't provide individual counseling. They send referrals to individual counselors to provide counseling for their students, but they don't provide the counseling. So me as a social worker, I can go into the schools and provide counseling as a mental health counselor or mental health therapist under my social work umbrella. Or I can work in the school and work with the broad range of all the students and, you know, talk to them and help them with their problems while they're in school, and then determine if they need to be referred out for individual counseling. So LPCs and LMHCs also work in residential treatment facilities, so that's with addiction and substance abuse. They provide therapy for the Department of Veteran Affairs, private practice therapists, which as a social worker, I can also be a private practice therapist, and more therapeutic options. So just from my research between a social worker and an LPC and LMHC, is the LPCs and the LMHCs are more therapeutic. Now, with me being a social worker, I can either be therapeutic, I can either work in the macro or micro sector, which we're gonna talk about a little bit in a few minutes. But I can go in and out, and I love that flexibility because sometimes I just feel like I want a break. If you guys are out there in your LPCs or LMHCs and you guys can work and be flexible with that, please let me know in the comments below. So like I said before, I did not do my research like I did for the video, but make sure you guys do your own research to really figure out which which population you want to work with, which age group you want to work with, if you want to do substance abuse, all that kind of stuff. All that really matters when you're selecting a mental health profession, which road you want to take in the mental health profession. So all that matters. So something else I realized when I was in my internship in my last year, I actually interned with a LMHC. And some of the differences that I realized from being in school was that during school I got all my hours for my internship, and so then I can go ahead and start studying for my test, taking my test, and finding a job. Whereas she only got half of her internship hours, and she had to get her other half when she got into the field, which means that she had to find a job that would be willing to give her internship hours while she's providing therapy. And she had a hard time getting into the field and finding a job with that. I know some people who are licensed mental health, licensed marriage and family therapists, and when they move from state to state, it's hard for them to find jobs. So like I mentioned before, there's a macro and the micro sector of social work. So the macro works in the broader scheme. So working with developing and implementing social interventions, as well as making positive changes in the community. A lot of social workers also choose to go into politics. Then the micro option is one-on-one. So that's with providing counseling, maybe doing mentorship, but you're working with families and individuals with social, emotional, and health related struggles. So one of the things that I noticed in my research is that a lot of the other therapeutic options focus on the emotional and behavioral problems, which is something that I do as a therapist. My goal is to work with the social, economic, financial, I do all that. So sometimes I have to do case management with a client before I can even get to the therapeutic part, because if they don't have certain things in place, the therapy is not going to work. So this is just a broad overview of why I decided to go into social work. I will get into the nitty-gritty in another video when I talk about some different things, but this is the broad reason why I wanted to become a social worker. And like I said before, I still absolutely love my job. Bureaucracy, not so much, but working with the clients, I love. So I hope that this video helped you understand a little bit about why I chose the field and a little bit of the differences between the two, or between some of them. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comments below. I would love for the conversation to keep going, and I look forward to chatting with you guys soon. If you like this video, don't forget to thumbs up, and please do not forget to subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so you know when I upload a new video. Thanks for joining me today, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next video. And remember, we're only growing from here. Talk to you guys later. Bye.